Hello, this is Rich Spots. I'm speaking to you from Trinity Church, which is in Solebury, Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, just outside of Philadelphia. And today I will be continuing this L'Orgue Mystique series with the Fugue for the 21st Sunday after Pentecost. As the star of L'Orgue Mystique was beginning to gleam over the horizon, the storm clouds of war began to envelop Europe. Within the context of this societal angst, the countercultural genius of L'Orgue Mystique struggled to get beyond the nascent phases of recognition in broader religious musical circles. Tournemire composed L'Orgue Mystique from 1927 through 1932. He engaged the publishing house of Fugue to publish the work. However, that did not go well. Paul Bertrand of Fugue eventually attempted to balk on the agreed-upon contract. Originally, the work was to have been published by 1932. However, the final publication was not complete until 1936. Citing the Depression, Bertrand attempted to renege upon the contract, suggesting that the piece should be published to the greater glory of high art. In the end, Tournemire received only a fraction of the agreed-upon financial partage from Fugue. The 51 volumes of L'Orgue Mystique would comprise of 1,014 pages of printed music, and with frontispieces, forewords, etc., the final page total was around 1,300. Noting the mammoth scale of the work and the limited market due to the skill level needed to perform the piece, Tournemire probably should be a bit more magnanimous. Of course, this also meant that in historical hindsight, this expensive and complicated work finally reached the public in the midst of the Great Depression, just shortly before the resumption of war and all the tumult that resulted. Tournemire would never resort to Fugue again. Although there are many accounts of L'Orgue Mystique being performed, Tournemire became crestfallen by the work's stymied dissemination. So too, because of its religious content, as this is the case whenever individuals engage in this particular subject matter, people would oftentimes adopt a benighted and illiberal position, and this immediate and visceral dismissiveness would lead people to refuse to take simple regard of the work in any way. Hence, individuals who held L'Orgue Mystique in high regard tended to be those with erudite religious comprehension, wedded with a progressive music education. In 1936, Tournemire wrote, somewhat in despondency, a letter to Paul Bertrand, who, despite having to take a hard-nosed financial position, was sympathetic to Tournemire. Dear Sir, the last fascicles of L'Orgue Mystique have just been published. A moment of this magnitude, delivered and in its entirety, to the puissance of diffusion through engraving, could not leave the one who had its paternity cold. And in the eyes of contemporaries, especially among generations to come, the composer and the publisher will be, as we are sure, confounded with the same feeling of gratitude emanating from those who love these religious and soothing meditations. Nobody then will suspect your anxieties or my bitterness. Perhaps neither you nor I, as an actual consequence of the social upheavals in this world, will witness the true triumph of my work, but be convinced, like myself, that one day they will arise and these great cycles of love will illuminate with a singular light, with brilliant rays. Best wishes, Charles Tournemire. To which Paul Bertrand replied in nodding wistful avouchment, "1,000 thanks, sir, for your letter, for which I am very touched. Indeed, circumstances, and circumstances alone, were the source of my anxieties, which you have well understood, and also were the source of your bitterness, which is very understandable. Alas, I'm afraid, in the light of the painful hours of this day, that we will soon ascertain how justified our fears were. Be assured that I am happy and proud to have contributed to the dissemination of your magnificent work. Please believe me, Paul Bertrand." In April 1932, 7 of the great organists of the next generation gave a radio concert of pieces from L'Orgue Mystique, performed on the then ailing organ of Saint Clotilde. Many of these pieces were still in manuscript form. The organists included Daniel Lesueur, Gaston Litaize, Jean Langlais, Olivier Messiaen, Noélie Perron, Maurice Duruflé, and André Fleury. Today, I am performing the postlude for the 21st Sunday after Pentecost, simply termed Fugue. The topic of the day deals with the parable of the king who forgives the debts of his servants and the obligation of the servants to forgive the debts of others. Its text: "Lord, thou hast been our refuge from one generation to another. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever the earth and the world were made. Thou art God from everlasting, and world without end." We are in the concluding movements of L'Orgue Mystique, and so there is an emphasis on the nature of the end of time. That said, here is the fugue for the 21st Sunday after Pentecost.